Good Monday morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Right now on Morning News Now, unrelenting overnight rockets and airstrikes battered Gaza and cities in southern Israel as the region's violence enters its second week and the death toll climbs dramatically. The latest from the ground and the president's response. On or off, the CDC on defense this morning as some Americans voice confusion on the agency's updated mask guidance on those who are fully vaccinated. The now controversial decision and how businesses are reacting. Held back, parents across the U.S. worried their young children will fall behind in school after a year of COVID. The controversial policies in a handful of states that some parents say are setting their children up to fail. And lost and found, that missing tiger on the loose in Houston for a week has been found safe and sound. We'll tell you how the high-stakes search came to an end and what the future holds for the 9-month feline. An update we are happy to give on that story.
Yes, everyone was watching that one very closely, some more than others.
Yes, exactly. Well, we will tell you a little bit more about it in a bit, but we're going to begin in the Middle East, where Israel has launched another wave of airstrikes on Gaza amid a volley of rocket attacks by militant group Hamas.
These are some of the heaviest raids yet. Israel launched a sustained aerial assault on Gaza City after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said attacks would continue at full force. On Sunday, Israeli airstrikes killed 42 Palestinians, the deadliest day of the conflict so far. NBC's Raf Sanchez joins us now from Beirut. So, Raf, first of all, bring us up to date with what's happening. What's the latest?
Joe, Savannah, Israel carrying out massive strikes overnight with dozens of aircraft targeting a Hamas underground tunnel network. But as you said, one of those strikes went disastrously wrong yesterday, with dozens of civilians killed in Gaza City, including 16 women and 10 children. I asked the Israeli military, what was the target here? They said they were going after an underground Hamas military facility, and when they struck it, it collapsed. Civilian houses above it collapsed also, causing unintended casualties. Now, we have not independently verified that claim about an underground facility, but even if this was a legitimate target, the question under international law, does its military significance outweigh this massive loss of civilian life? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel appearing on CBS News yesterday, indicating he is not looking for a ceasefire right now. Take a listen.
We'll do whatever it takes to restore order and quiet and on the security of our people and deterrence. We're trying to degrade Hamas's terrorist abilities and to degrade their will to do this again. So it'll take some time. I hope it won't take long, but it's not immediate.
Hamas and other militant groups have fired nearly 3,000 rockets towards Israel over the last week, many of them intercepted by Israel's state-of-the-art Iron Dome missile defense system. That rocket fire continuing last night, but at a slower rate, guys.
Raf, on Saturday, a dramatic scene unfolded. We saw Israeli warplanes take down the Gaza offices of the Associated Press, Al Jazeera, and other media outlets. What has been the reaction so far to that attack?
Yeah, this has led to international outcry from press freedom groups around the world. Gary Pruitt, the president and CEO of the Associated Press, called this a shocking and horrifying attack and said his organization narrowly avoided loss of life. The head of Al Jazeera suggesting this is a possible war crime. Guys, this was a surreal scene. Our fellow journalists in Gaza basically had enough time to get out of their offices, go across the street, turn their cameras around, and film their bureaus being blown up. The White House says it has raised concerns with Israel about the safety of journalists. Israel says Hamas was using that building as a military facility. It has not yet presented public evidence of that. Guys?
And Raf, let's try to put this past week into some context. Tell us how we got here and how this latest round of violence started.
Yeah, it may feel that this violence erupted out of nowhere, but actually tensions were building for weeks in Jerusalem, specifically in the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah in occupied East Jerusalem. An Israeli settler group has been trying for years to get several dozen Palestinians evicted from their homes in that area. The settlers relying on an Israeli law that allows Israelis to reclaim previously Jewish property that was lost in East Jerusalem. The law does not work in the other direction. Palestinians have no right to reclaim formerly Arab property in West Jerusalem. That situation in Sheikh Jarrah leading to growing tensions, Palestinian youths throwing rocks at Israeli police, and the Israeli police storming the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam, on the last Friday of Ramadan. And it was those images of Israeli police inside that holy place using stun grenades, using rubber-coated steel rounds that was the immediate spark for this conflict. Hamas firing the first rounds of rockets last Monday, and here we are a week later, the violence continuing. Guys.
Raf Sanchez reporting from Beirut. Raf, thank you.
In a pre-taped address from the White House marking the celebration of Eid, President Biden took a moment to acknowledge the escalating violence in the Middle East as he faces growing calls for greater U.S. involvement.
We also believe Palestinians and Israelis equally deserve to live in safety and security and enjoy equal measure of freedom, prosperity, and democracy. And my administration is going to continue to engage Palestinians and Israelis and other regional partners to work towards sustained calm.
NBC News White House correspondent Jeff Bennett joins us now. Jeff, good morning, and let's pick it up right there with what he just mentioned. President Biden actually spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Saturday. What did the White House say came out of that call?
Hey, Savannah, good morning. You're right. The president, the White House says, spoke with both the Israeli leader and the Palestinian leader, Mahmoud Abbas, on Saturday. The White House says in those calls he stressed his support for a two-state solution. He also urged a de-escalation. Now, the White House has for years, previous administrations have for years defended Israel's right to defend itself. But the president, in his conversation with Netanyahu, we're told, also expressed concern about the civilian losses. And given the flattening of that building that Raf told you about that housed Al Jazeera and the Associated Press, the White House expressed to Israel the need to protect journalists. The White House, we're told, stopped short of condemning the violence, but certainly expressed to Netanyahu this desire to protect journalists. Savannah.
And, Jeff, there was a UN security meeting yesterday. Is any action being taken out of that?
Well, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, who's the U.S. ambassador to the UN, she told world leaders on Sunday that the U.S., and this is a quote, will lend support should the parties seek a ceasefire because we believe Israelis and Palestinians equally have a right to live in safety and security. Savannah.
And, Jeff, Senator John Ossoff led a group of 28 Democrats that's urging for a ceasefire in Gaza. Could this increased pressure impact President Biden's response from within his own party?
You know, we don't know that yet. The president, you're right, is facing pushback from Democrats, but White House officials have said that when it comes to foreign policy, this administration will do what's in the best interests of the U.S. And that oftentimes isn't really dependent on what elected leaders are telling the president. So we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much.
Sure.
The CDC is defending its decision to issue new and loosened guidelines on mask wearing. Those changes have sparked confusion among many Americans, especially business owners.
The new guidance says if you're fully vaccinated, it's safe to ditch your mask outdoors and indoors in most places. If you're not vaccinated, you still have to wear a mask. But for states and businesses that are still mandating masks, the new guidelines put them in a tough position. Do they follow the CDC and trust that unvaccinated people will still wear a mask? We have a team covering the new mask recommendations and the reaction to them. Let's begin now with NBC News Now correspondent Isa Gutierrez and NBC News reporter Vaughn Hilliard in Leesburg, Virginia. So, Isa, the CDC director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, is now trying to clear up confusion over what this new guidance means for everyone. Tell us, what is she saying?
Good morning, Joe. Dr. Walensky is saying that the CDC is asking people to be honest with themselves. If you're vaccinated and you're not wearing a mask, they're saying you're safe. But if you're not vaccinated and you're also shedding your mask, then you're not. Take a listen.
This was not permission to shed masks for everybody everywhere. This was really science-driven, individual assessment of your risk. And we needed this building block, this first step, so that we could say this is the science upon which all future guidance will be based upon.
Now, the CDC is saying that even if you're vaccinated, you still need to wear a mask on planes, buses, public transportation, and of course at locations like businesses that require masks. Joe?
So, Vaughn, you're outside a shopping plaza where vaccinated customers are figuring out whether they need to shop with or without a mask, and that may just depend on the store. Tell us, which major businesses have dropped their mandates since the CDC's announcement a few days ago?
Yeah, Joe, that's right. In shopping centers like this here in Virginia, it's quite literally foggy this morning. But when it comes to shoppers that are going to be arriving here this morning, there's still questions because from one business to the next, there's different standards for whether that CDC guidance is being followed and whether mask mandates are being still required within some of these businesses, which they are allowed to do. Costco behind me is one of those optional businesses. Take a look at this list here. Starbucks, Costco, Trader Joe's, Publix, Walmart. These are all corporations that have put optional mask mandates inside of their place. So it's optional whether you walk in. Costco saying in part in a statement that we will not require proof of vaccination, but we ask for members responsible and respectful cooperation with this revised policy. What essentially Issa was saying was the encouragement for folks to take part in this honor system.
Vaughn, so those stores behind you are being masked by the fog. Now, customers don't know if the person next to them is vaccinated or not. We're seeing a lot of businesses keeping their mask mandates in place, at least for now. Tell us which businesses are still doing that and what are they saying about their decisions?
Here in this shopping plaza, right next door, Target, also a little cloudy, but they are keeping their mask requirements. So Targets around the country, you've got to still wear your mask coming in. Take a look at the other businesses here, included along with Target, that are still requiring masks, including CVS, Kroger Grocers, Home Depot, Crunch Fitness, Walgreens. It's business to business. They're slowly coming out with their own statements. Target saying in part in a statement that, quote, Target will continue to require all of our coronavirus safety measures in all stores, including masks and social distancing. While we review guidance from the CDC and evaluate the guidance we offer our team and guests. You know, there was a major union, the UCFW, which represents more than 1 million retail and grocery and essential workers. The head of it coming out in a scathing letter saying that the CDC should not have lifted its mask mandates because essential workers, folks working in these types of businesses, will continue to come in with about 2/3 of the American population that is still yet to be fully vaccinated.
Yeah, and Issa, speaking of unions, the nation's largest nurses union has now come out against this new guidance. Tell us, why is that?
Joe, they're saying that this guidance does not protect public health, that it threatens the lives of frontline workers, nurses, and patients. The union's executive director said in part, quote, now is not the time to relax protective measures, and we are outraged that the CDC has done just that while we're in the midst of the deadliest pandemic in a century. Now, the CDC hasn't responded directly to these comments, but as I was talking about earlier, over the last few days, Dr. Walensky as well as Dr. Fauci have been defending this new CDC guidance, pointing to data that shows that vaccines are extremely effective in real-world scenarios. Joe?
All right, Issa and Vaughn, thank you both very much.
Let's bring in NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar. Dr. Azar, who may have the right to say, I told you so, because I believe that you warned some of this might happen when we had you on the show on Friday. First, let's play a clip from SNL over the weekend where they poked fun at this confusion over the guidance. Take a look.
It's your boy Fauci, the patron saint of Purell. The CDC announced that people who are vaccinated no longer need to wear masks, outdoors or indoors. Pretty great, right? But a lot of people had questions, such as, what does that mean? What the hell are you talking about? Is this a trap?
Okay, so a lot of people do have questions. A lot of people are unsure when they should be wearing a mask. So tell us now, if we are fully vaccinated, what should we do in public, especially since we don't know if the people around us are vaccinated, and especially since, as we just heard from Vaughn, it varies depending on where you go.
I know, Savannah, I think the real issue here was not really in the science that led to this decision. I mean, they can back that up fine. The vaccine in the real world is effective at preventing infection and transmission. It's effective against the variants. 12 to 15-year-olds are just authorized. But I think what the problem here was really in their communication. They sort of really made kind of like a global, sweeping statement that all vaccinated individuals suddenly have this new liberty. And I think the problem is that, or the concern is that there's an over-interpretation of that, meaning that that is true for every locality in every state in the country. And that is the nuance that I think was missing from the announcement last week that Dr. Walensky and Dr. Fauci kind of needed to, elaborate on and give a little bit more granular detail. For example, I've heard public health experts saying things like, states prior to this announcement were saying we're ready to do that for vaccinated individuals, but not until we have 70% of our population who has received at least one vaccine. And suddenly with this announcement, that kind of went out the window, and certain states were, implementing this new guidance before they reached that threshold, which is really not necessary. It really, they could have just waited a couple of more weeks.
And what would you encourage businesses to do right now? I mean, how do they keep employees safe if people are coming in and it's really just on this honor system?
Yeah, if I'm a business owner, you have to think not only of your frontline workers, essential workers who will still probably want to be masked to protect themselves, but think about your customers and your patrons as well. There are a lot of individuals out there who, for whatever reason, may not be able to get the vaccine, or perhaps they're immunocompromised, or they're transplant patients who may have gotten vaccinated, but they haven't mounted an adequate immune response. Now, they used to be able to navigate public places feeling relatively comfortable and confident because other people were masked, and they may not be able to do that anymore. So quite frankly, I hope that businesses, feel comfortable that they can make decisions based on what is good for their workers and safe for their customers, and unfortunately, they're not going to have the CDC guidance to back them up on this. And so I do foresee potential conflicts in the next few weeks for those businesses.
Yeah, we do not want to see any more of those types of videos from within stores. Dr. Azar, we all have a lot of questions about this new guidance. I mean, that's kind of, I think, why this SNL sketch is so funny, because it really just does hit with a lot of people. What kind of questions do you have about it? Do you think there's anything the CDC should clear up, or that's maybe not in this guidance that businesses say they're reviewing that's going to help?
For businesses specifically, you mean, Savannah?
For anything. Just what do you wonder?
So I just was, there was another feed from the New York Times this morning that said, here are 4 scenarios. You are a fully vaccinated household. You're an unvaccinated household. You're a partially vaccinated household. Yeah. You have kids who aren't vaccinated. This to the end of the SNL skit with the riddle, where there's so many different, it's almost like a math reading problem that gets so complicated, right? You can think of almost any kind of scenario where it's going to be really difficult to make decisions. I think what would have been helpful, again, is if the CDC had said, these are the public health thresholds that we would like an area to achieve before you implement this. Perhaps it's less than 5 positive cases out of 100,000 people. Maybe it's 70% of your population has received at least one vaccine before doing that. I think that would have really given businesses and states, frankly, the tools to be able to implement and execute a safe order, for folks, rather than just sort of this blanket recommendation for all vaccinated people.
All right. Dr. Natalie Azar, thank you for helping us through the confusion. We'll see you soon.
Let's get a check on your morning news now weather.
Which means Bill Cairns joins us on this Monday. Hi, Bill. Good morning.
Yeah, good news, Bill left.
It's supposed to be pretty this week, I thought.
Yeah. Well, maybe for you, but unfortunately in our big, vast country, it's a big country. We got some issues that we're going to have to deal with this week. So let's get to it. All the problems are going to be in the middle of the country. That's kind of where they've been, and it's going to stay that way. We're going to deal with a lot of severe weather this week. We're going to deal with flash flooding, and probably some life-threatening type stuff too. So as of now, it's just kind of general rain. This is kind of what we call precursory rain. This is what soaks the soil. So when we get the really heavy stuff, it doesn't soak in, and then we get additional flash flooding. So So right now there's rain out there from south of Dallas. There's lots in Arkansas and a little bit in Missouri. So we start round one later on tonight. So this is our severe weather threat. So we're going to get a double whammy with the heavy rain and the severe weather. That you don't like to see a red bullseye on any weather map. That is a moderate risk of severe storms. We expect baseball, maybe even some softball-sized hail possible from Lubbock to Abilene in that area of red. And then the areas in the colors surrounding it, we will still see severe weather, possible wind damage too, maybe even towards Dallas and Fort Worth. Then on top of all of that, we have our flash flood watch. This is for the next 3 days. We think this flood threat will last at least through Wednesday, maybe even Thursday. 11 million people at risk. We've already had some heavy rain the last 2 days in Oklahoma City and Dallas. And we think that the rainfall totals will be anywhere between widespread 3 to 7 inches, isolated up to 10 inches of rain. That would be a lot of trouble. So the middle of the country, that's where all the problems are. For Savannah herself, yes, it is nice for her. 77 degrees and sunny in New York City. But there's still some good weather to be had on the East Coast all week long. And it's going to feel like summer. That free air is gone by the end of this week in almost all locations.
Sorry, Joe. All right. Thanks, Bill. See you in a bit.
Coming up, gas shortages are lingering in parts of the country as travel season heats up.
We'll tell you if relief is on the way for drivers up next.
The crippling ransomware attack on one of the country's largest oil pipelines is raising new questions about the nation's cybersecurity. The shutdown of the 5,500-mile-long Colonial Pipeline led to panic buying and fuel shortages in parts of the country. Gas only began flowing again after the company paid a $5 million ransom, according to a U.S. official familiar with the matter. NBC News technology correspondent Jake Ward looks at how more American businesses could be in the crosshairs of cyber criminals.
It set off panic from the southeast all the way to the mid-Atlantic. The May 7th cyber attack not only threatened millions of Americans' fuel supply for cars, furnaces, and airplanes, the effects have been rippling outward ever since.
Waiting here for 45 minutes just to get gas.
Gas prices soared above $3 per gallon, the highest level since October 2014. The attack by Russian hacker group DarkSide shutting down the nation's largest gas pipeline. The latest example of just how vulnerable these targets are. Hospitals, small city governments, even major manufacturers across the country have been crippled by these kinds of attacks. The January SolarWinds hack of roughly 100 companies and a dozen government agencies did widespread damage.
The energy sector, which, powers everything from emergency services to mass transit, is under increasing attack. In fact, IBM says that it's now the third most attacked sector after manufacturing and finance, up from 9th place just a few years ago.
A ransomware attack typically involves fooling employees into downloading what looks like a software update or an email attachment, and that then takes control of a system. The software is complex, but the strategy is simple. Scramble data on the company's servers and offer to unscramble it again in exchange for money.
Ransomware is probably the leading cyber attack at the moment. It is one that's highly profitable for the attacker and very easy to do.
As of Thursday, Colonial Pipeline said it was fully up and running again after the company paid nearly $5 million in ransom, a U.S. official told NBC News. Paying off the attackers seems like the most efficient way to get back online, but according to the FBI, when you pay an attacker, others line up to do the same thing.
We discourage the payment of ransoms because prolific payment of ransoms encourages ransomware.
President Biden spoke about the pipeline attack just hours after signing an executive order to strengthen American cybersecurity defenses.
Do not get more gas than you need in the next few days. Panic buying will only slow the process.
But it was too late. Pumps ran dry across the southeast and even beyond, not because of the shutdown, but because panic had people hoarding gas.
What's interesting is the panic buying actually extended even to areas not served by Colonial, causing some supply issues elsewhere as well.
In the end, a handful of hackers out for money wound up breaking into not just America's fuel infrastructure, they hacked our confidence in it as well.
While the Colonial Pipeline is back to normal operation, some areas of the East Coast and Southeast are still facing lingering gas shortages.
NBC News correspondent Blaine Alexander joins us now. Blaine, good morning. So where do the shortages stand this morning?
Well, guys, good morning to you. You know, I've talked with one expert who told me essentially that we are in recovery mode. Of course, that pipeline's been back up and running for days, but it's going to take some time before we feel that relief trickle down to the pump. And the result is, of course, what we're seeing right now. Nearly 13,000 stations are out of gas. The highest number, the hardest hit area right now, Washington, D.C., actually. They're sitting at about 88% outages. When you go a little further down south, North Carolina is almost at 60%. South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, all feeling some of the same issues. In fact, here in the state of Georgia, the governor has issued a state of emergency over those gas outages. Now, a couple of interesting things. One, experts say that it's due in very large part to panic buying, as you just heard. But the other thing is the fact that when you consider that other states, or rather that you consider the fact that when we get into those summer months, the demand is only going to go up. We're kind of running up against that natural increase in demand. And that's also driving some of the outages that we see now, guys.
So, Blaine, AAA says that the national average is up to $3.04 a gallon, passing the $3 mark for the first time in 7 years. Can drivers expect gas prices to go down anytime soon?
I certainly wish I had better news for you, Joe, but no, as we kind of get into those warmer months, and especially as those restrictions are being lifted, the COVID restrictions are being lifted, more Americans are going to be hitting the road. So what you're seeing is this natural demand for gas as people start driving, coupled with the fact that we're still trying to recover from this kind of pipeline over panic buying. And yes, we do know that experts say that gas will probably look like it's going to be more expensive in the months to come. Now, I do have a little bit of good news. There are some ways that you can kind of try and conserve gas on your own. Experts say that you should try and just plan ahead, consolidate your errands so you only have to take one trip at a time, and also take some extra stuff out of your car. Try and lighten the load. That's also going to go away when it comes to conserving gas as well, guys.
All right. Good advice. Memorial Day just 2 weeks away. So I think we know where the gas prices are headed this summer. Blaine, thank you so much.
Thanks, Blaine. The late Kobe Bryant is now a Basketball Hall of Famer. During Saturday's induction ceremony, his wife, Vanessa, delivered an emotional speech and shared memories of the Lakers star. It was just over a year ago a helicopter crash took the lives of Bryant, his daughter, and 7 others. NBC's Guad Venegas has more.
Kobe Bryant took his rightful place among basketball's greatest.
You're in the Hall of Fame now.
In an emotional ceremony, Vanessa Bryant remembered her late husband more than a year after a tragic helicopter accident took the lives of Kobe, their daughter Gianna, and 7 others.
Right now, I'm sure he's laughing in heaven because I'm about to praise him in public.
Fellow Hall of Famer and friend Michael Jordan stood by Vanessa as she remembered Kobe's love for his fans.
I remember asking him why he couldn't just sit a game out because he was hurting. He said, "What about the fans that saved up to watch me play just once?" He never forgot about his fans.
Kobe wanted his whole family to be there that day, including baby Capri, and he got his wish. Emotions already running high from the night before when Kobe's oldest daughter, Natalie, accepted the traditional Hall of Fame red jacket in his place. Now, a new Kobe Bryant exhibit at the Hall of Fame showcases his extraordinary career over 2 decades, earning him 5 NBA championship rings, 2 Olympic gold medals, as well as jerseys and sneakers worn by the star.
I'm so proud of you. I love you forever and always. Kobe Bean Bryant.
A love supported by the basketball community and fans who lost one of the greatest stars ever too soon. Guad Venegas, NBC News.
Let's take a look at what's making news around the world this morning.
NBC News global correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us now from Beirut. Good morning, Raf.
Good morning, Joe. Savannah, long working hours are killing hundreds of thousands of people each year. That's according to the World Health Organization. A first-of-its-kind study estimates 750,000 people died in 2016 from conditions associated with overwork. And the WHO warns that trend may be getting worse during the pandemic. In London, 4 people have been arrested in connection with a video showing men screaming anti-Semitic abuse from their cars. The video emerged amid this latest violence between Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Prime Minister Boris Johnson called it shameful racism and said it had no place in British society. And finally, the mayor of Paris is stepping up plans to ban most cars from the city center. Anne Hidalgo, who may run to be France's president next year, hopes to make one of Europe's densest urban landscapes also one of its greenest. So guys, Paris, the city of lights, may soon be the city of no traffic lights.
All right, Raph, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll be back with more morning news now right after this.
The pandemic has presented many challenges for students and parents, and now there's concern that kids might be held back because they didn't learn enough this past school year. In some states, this is the law. NBC News correspondent Rahima Ellis has more.
What is this word? In a year of COVID learning, Sparkle Johnson struggled with 2 full-time jobs.
You need help, Bob? It was probably one of the hardest things I've had to do.
Working overnight as a medical assistant and during the day, helping her 3 children and 6 others in a learning pod. You think the children advanced?
Children absolutely did not learn anything.
Now, this Nashville mom and thousands of parents like her in Tennessee are wondering if their children will be left behind. A new state law says that if a 3rd grader fails a standardized reading test, they will be forced to repeat the grade unless they attend a summer program and agree to tutoring. Tennessee joins 17 other states with similar reading retention policies. But parents like Sparkle say these laws do more harm than good.
But y'all are setting them up for failure, wanting to hold them back, teaching them exactly what you're teaching them now, which is nothing.
It's a controversial policy, but one that experts say has merits.
Retention is not universally harmful to students. Clearly has strong benefits for many students in the years immediately following the retention decision.
And while the pandemic has focused attention on lagging literacy, it's not a new issue. Statistics show even back in 2019, 65% of Tennessee 4th graders were not reading at grade level. The majority of those are children of color.
Not all children are receiving a quality education.
Sonia Thomas is a parent who's teaching other Nashville families how to advocate for their kids.
This state and other states around this country have failed to teach children how to read. If we don't have any other right, we have a right to be taught how to read, and that is not happening.
Sonia chose to hold her own son back a grade and feels parental involvement is crucial.
This is about partnership. This is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It shouldn't be. All children are different.
Now, across America, parents helpless that their kids will be held back.
A Houston neighborhood is breathing a sigh of relief this morning. The escaped tiger that kept that community on edge for nearly a week has been found. It's now safe in the custody of a Texas animal sanctuary. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky has details of the big cat's capture.
This morning, a Texas-sized tiger mystery finally solved.
I think the public thought it'd be easy to catch a tiger, but it wasn't at all.
The strange case began with this now viral video showing India the tiger roaming around in a West Houston neighborhood.
Get the back inside.
Witnesses watched Victor Hugo Cuevas actually kiss the big cat before taking him inside his house. Authorities say Cuevas later loaded India into a white SUV, speeding off seconds after Houston police arrived, a claim that Cuevas' attorney has denied. Police arrested Cuevas, already out on bond, for a 2017 murder charge, charging him with evading police, but they couldn't find India. Cuevas is currently in custody, and his lawyer says he is not the tiger's owner. But over the next week, nearly 300 tips poured in. Then, late Saturday,
we got him, and he's healthy.
Police say the 9-month-old Bengal tiger was turned in unharmed by one of its owners, a woman named Gia. India, which is currently 175 pounds, could grow as large. as 600 pounds.
It still had its claws, and it could do a lot of damage if he decided to.
It's illegal to own a tiger in the city of Houston, but they are allowed in Harris County if registered under strict rules and regulations.
The tiger was passed around a little bit, but ultimately Gia knew where the tiger was at all times.
The investigation into where and how India was moved isn't over, but thankfully this tiger's wild ride finally is. On Sunday, authorities dropped off India at this Texas animal sanctuary run by the Humane Society of the United States. He'll join 2 other tigers rescued in Texas in recent years, Elsa and Loki. All 3 now under the watchful eyes of trained professionals.
These animals, while they are beautiful and majestic, they are wild. You cannot tame a tiger just by raising them from a baby.
A high school softball player says she wants to put an end to rules that discriminate against black student athletes because of their hair. This comes after she says she was forced to cut her braids during a game in North Carolina.
Yeah, this is a photo of sophomore Nicole Piles playing in her team's final home game of the season in Durham last month, just before she cut the beads out of her hair. Piles says she was forced to do it or leave the game after the umpire told her coach that her hairstyle covered the number on the back of her jersey. The state's High School Athletic Association has sided with the umpire, saying the rules forbid the use of hair beads. Nicole Piles joins us now to share more of her story along with her father, Julius Piles. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for joining us and to talk about this experience. Nicole, first, just take us back to this moment. You realize that you only have these 2 choices, either cut your hair right there. I understand. I think your teammates even had to help you, or leave your final home game of the season. I mean, how'd you feel? What was going through your mind?
Well, I was upset because I didn't feel like I needed to leave my team because they are my family, and I feel like I needed that game to keep going. I was upset and I was humiliated. I was disrespected, especially on senior night in front of family, friends, like older students that came back to see us play on our senior night. And it just hurt because it was like, you only want to apply this rule to me once we start getting up in a little bit of points, and like you have nothing else better to do but to use a rule to hold me down.
Julius, you pointed out this was not the first time that Nicole wore beads in her game during a game. Why do you think this time was different? And as her father, just what was your reaction to this?
Well, actually, I wasn't at the game. I learned about what had taken place when she returned home late on that evening. I'm sorry. Answer that question again.
I mean, just first, what was your reaction to this? But also, why do you think this game might have been different if Nicole had worn beads in the past?
Well, I think it was racially motivated based off the fact of the high school they was playing, which was Jordan High School, and what we had learned was that the person that was that was identified as a coach was actually a parent, from my understanding, that spoke to another referee, which was a white gentleman, who in turn spoke with the umpire, who was a black gentleman. And as my daughter had stated previously, she had been playing in front of that umpire before, and it was never an issue. I did get to attend one of her games like a couple of weeks prior to, and it wasn't an issue about any beads. So I think it was racially motivated based off the fact that it was never an issue.
And now, actually, your school district has issued a statement saying, we believe the blanket ban on hair beads is culturally biased and problematic. We support our student, Nicole Piles, and believe this rule should be amended. Nicole, have you heard from the district personally? Have they reached out to you? And what do you hope comes of this?
The district did reach out to us.
Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah, like Thursday we had a conversation about it. What was your second question, ma'am?
And just what do you hope comes from this?
I just hope the rule changes and people learn that, like, we can't have rules that they're not going to, I'm sorry, lost for words. They're not going to apply to everybody. We're going to have rules that need to apply to everybody and not just certain that do certain things. Because it's my understanding that we're allowed to wear barrettes or something during games, but beads, it's a culturally insensitive rule.
Right. We know this is certainly sparking more discussion. This is not the first time something like this has happened around the country. So, Nicole and Julius, we thank you both for joining us this morning to talk more about this.
Thank you.
You.
All right.
Coming up, Greece wants you to choose the Mediterranean for your summer getaway.
That option,
Yeah.
what the country is doing to convince travelers to return, next. China has landed a rover on Mars for the first time. The robot touched down over the weekend using a parachute, protective capsule, and rocket platform. The Chinese rover joins NASA's Perseverance rover, which landed on the red planet in February. And we could not deliver space news without remembering the passing of one of the very best in the business of covering space, Jay Barbary, a legendary space journalist here at NBC News, has died. Barbary joined NBC News in 1958 and didn't retire until 2017, a storied career that spanned 59 years. No journalist covered more human launches from U.S. soil than Jay. Now, reflecting on the International Space Station and the future of space travel in 2012, he wrote, "How the Armstrongs, the Aldrins, the Glens, all of us who were here for Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo would like to be around for the 21st century's greatest adventure. Our mortality says we can't, but our spirits won't be far away." No doubt we're feeling his spirit now. Jay Barbary was 87 years old. And Savannah, it's just amazing to hear all of our colleagues pay tribute to them after working with him for so long.
Absolutely. 59 years. What a career. And what a time when we've had all this incredible space news lately.
Yeah, it's a busy time to cover space right now. And no doubt he's paying attention to all of it, I think.
Absolutely. And exciting to hear him, discuss this as the 21st century's greatest adventure, because there is a lot to come.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. It is time now for our CNBC Money Minute, the biggest financial headlines of the day and why they matter to you. CNBC senior markets correspondent Dominic Chu joins us today. Good morning, Dom.
Hey, good morning, Savannah. Good morning, Joe. Well, we've got a media mega merger on this Monday morning. We're talking AT&T striking a deal to combine its media assets, which include HBO and CNN, amongst others, with Discovery Communications, the owner of channels like TLC and HGTV as well. It's going to create a new company separate from AT&T and mark the unwinding of its more than $100 billion takeover of Time Warner just 3 years ago. The deal also underscores the recognition that TV viewers have largely shifted to streaming services. So keep that in mind there. Also, Clubhouse expanding its new Android app. The popular social audio platform began testing the Android app back in the U.S. earlier this month. It'll now be available worldwide by the end of next week. Now, the iPhone version of Clubhouse launched in March of last year. There's a big incentive to expand quickly, though, as Facebook, Twitter, and others are rolling out their similar apps and features to keep users on their platforms. So social audio is such a big thing. And speaking of social, Twitter has said it's exploring a paid subscription model for some features, and now we may know a few more details. This is The Verge, citing a top researcher in apps, says the service will be called Twitter Blue. It will cost $2.99 a month. It will include an undo tweets feature and let you organize saved posts in collections. It'll also appear that Twitter may be working on a tiered subscription model as well. Twitter is declining comment. But folks, it's one of those situations now where social media is so big, but that streaming mega merger is going to change a big part of the landscape there for sure. Imagine all those reality shows combining with HBO. It's going to be big.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good point. Yeah. Big news this morning, Tom. Thank you so much. See you in a bit.
Summer vacation season is nearly upon us, and Greece is pulling out the welcome mat for tourists. The pandemic took a heavy toll on the Greek economy, which relies heavily on tourism. But now the European country is hoping that a fresh influx of visitors can help revitalize its fortunes. This incredibly challenging assignment goes to NBC's Sarah Harmon, who reports from the Greek island of Santorini.
Hello from Santorini. If you've been thinking about where you might be allowed to spend your vacation this summer, Greece has a message for Americans. We're open, but bring your vaccine card.
Greece is open for tourism, and travel-starved Americans are starting to come back.
It feels amazing to finally travel again.
We both love mountains and wine.
Vaccinated Americans or those with a negative PCR test are now free to roam the ancient Acropolis. No quarantine required.
Most of Europe is still off limits to Americans, but here in Greece, tourism is about a quarter of GDP, and they can't afford to wait any longer.
Why now? Why is this the moment to reopen?
Because we feel that we are ready. Athens is ready. Greece is ready.
Still, only 13% of Greeks are fully vaccinated. So hundreds of Greek islands are now racing to vaccinate every adult by June.
Santorini is perhaps the most beautiful of all the Greek islands. Stunning views like these drew millions of visitors each year before the pandemic. Many can't wait to have them back.
This hotel has been struggling. 60% of guests were from the U.S.
The whole Santorini was built on tourism. It was quite tough.
The rest of Europe won't be far behind. Italy, France, and Spain all planning to join Greece, welcoming back Americans for the lucrative summer season.
Greece is now racing to vaccinate all of the islands by the end of June. It's called Operation Blue Freedom, and they're thinking it's the best chance to convince visitors and residents that reopening is safe for everyone. Guys?
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. Jealous. Sarah. That's cool.
I drove to New Jersey recently. That was my big excitement.
A little different.
It's very similar. Just water. Anyway. Coming up, Chuck Todd presents our weekly Meet the Press, Come Press.
A look at how NBC's Sunday show covered the biggest stories, including the GOP drama and the CDC's new mask advice, up next. Turning to politics, Sunday morning shows typically give us a lot of Monday morning moments.
Meet the Press covered a range of topics yesterday, from the new CDC mask guidelines to the future of the GOP. Here's a look at the highlights and more with MTP moderator Chuck Todd.
Well, good morning, Joe and Savannah. On this week's Meet the Press, we focused on the CDC's decision to lift mask-wearing guidance for most places with the CDC Director, Rochelle Walensky. Plus, we talked about the purge inside the Republican Party, not civil war, but a purge with two GOP members of Congress who sit on either side of this divide. Here are some of the most important answers from Meet the Press, Come Press. You announced that all this scientific data studies have shown the vaccines are working. So use the dropping of the mask ordinance to incentivize higher vaccination rates. You did it backwards. You announced, okay, it's done, and now we have no way of knowing. What is a business supposed to do when somebody walks in without a mask? Assume that they're abiding by the rules?
You know, we are asking people to be honest with themselves. If they are vaccinated and they are not wearing a mask, they are safe. If they are not vaccinated and they are not wearing a mask, they are not safe. And what we're asking businesses to do, probably the most important thing that businesses could do right now, is to work to ensure that it's easy for their own employees to get vaccinated and to give them the time that they need so that they can make those appointments and get themselves vaccinated so those people in those businesses are safe.
So you're counting on businesses to do vaccine mandates?
We're not counting on vaccine mandates at all. It may very well be that local businesses, local jurisdictions will work towards vaccine mandates. That is going to be locally driven and not federally driven.
I believe that you're not going to excommunicate a former president, right? And I refuse to go into this sort of black and white thinking about it's either totally one thing or totally the other. These are complex human relationships that involve millions of people. And I have always said, look, I do not think Trump is the devil. And I won't say that. I don't think he's Jesus either. You know, I'm a rational human being about this. OK, and I'm going to agree where I agree, and I'm going to disagree where I disagree. And I refuse to allow this drama to engulf us. That's what Kevin McCarthy was saying. I fully agree with that. And there's no point in relitigating some of these things. Look, I say this to Liz and I say this to Adam. You're not going to get the colleagues who believe in that stuff to apologize to you, to agree with you.
Trump set the table. He's the one that continually brings up a stolen election narrative. He's the one that has convinced members of Congress, including what we saw a few days ago, to have a hearing on January 6th and claim that this was nothing but a tourist group, or that it was hugs and kisses. I mean, if you saw the press releases he put out yesterday about this is the lie of the century, the greatest crime of the century, you cannot on the one hand say that Donald Trump is a leader or the leader of the Republican Party, which I believe he is the leader of the Republican Party right now because Kevin McCarthy gave him his leadership card. You can't say he's the leader and then say we have to move on. I would love to move on, Chuck, but listen, when Liz Cheney, probably on a total of maybe 4 or 5 times, just simply answered questions that the election wasn't stolen, and then Donald Trump dozens and dozens of times says it is, it's not Liz's fault.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.